Hey guys, I'm Liam. I'm here with my client Mike. Today we're doing a passive assessment, so determining as much range of motion as the client has. We can move through it pain-free. So the first test that we're going to do is a little shoulder internal external rotation. So I'm going to take this pad, I'm going to chalk it right underneath that elbow. So he's going to keep that elbow right out at 90 degrees here. And then the second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hand, place it right on top of that shoulder, right on top of that little chromium process. Pull this hand back into, let me straight hands. I'm going to pull this arm straight back and do as much external rotation as I can without letting that hand come off. External rotation looks pretty good, definitely past 90 degrees there. Let me move this pad back and I can probably get a little even more external rotation before his rib cage starts moving around, before his scap starts moving around. That's perfect. So he's definitely past 90 degrees there, definitely comfortable. And then going into internal rotation, same thing. I want to try and block that same process. Internal rotation, not great, but not bad either. You got about 70 degrees there. So definitely gonna pass, or at least get close to that 180 degrees, but not perfect there. The second thing that we're gonna do is a little shoulder flexion. So here, I'm gonna take my hand, place it right underneath his shoulder blade, right next to that lat. I'm gonna take this hand straight overhead. Now I'm gonna try and keep that scap from moving. See how much shoulder flexion I can get. I can almost get him straight overhead, not perfect there. You can feel that roadblock, right? So as I'm moving him, I can get him into a comfortable position, and then we're moving through a little bit of soft range of motion where there's a little bit of resistance. And then the second thing, go and flip over onto your belly, Mike. So the second thing here we're gonna do is shoulder extension. So same thing, I'm gonna block that shoulder down so he can't move. Thumb down, pinky up for me, Mike. And then I'm gonna take this arm and try and drive it straight up so I can start to feel, right, there's a block right there. And all of a sudden he's gonna try and pick off that shoulder blade, can't move at all. So he's pretty tight through that shoulder extension, right, which is gonna limit his ability to do any sort of running motion where he's trying to kick that arm straight behind him. Definitely something to pay attention to moving forward. Sweet, go ahead and roll onto your side here, Mike. So the next assessment that we're gonna do is what's called a windmill. So I'm gonna bring these legs at 90 degrees, hip crease at 90 degrees here, and he's gonna take this top hand, circle it around, right, and then try and keep contact with that ground the whole time. Now, go ahead, Mike, go and bring that arm back for me. What a lot of times you'll find is that they compensate through the hips, right? So I'm gonna block that sucker off just with my leg here. And I can feel him start to put a bunch of pressure into that, right? So it's okay to move through that upper back. What we don't want is that hip moving too much. So he's going to give me one more, Mike. And same thing here, he's putting a lot of pressure into my leg right now. I can feel him trying to turn. He's barely able to keep contact with that ground. So he's right on that edge of like, hey, he's got decent shoulder rotation there, but it ain't perfect, it could be better. The next thing that we're gonna do, go on rock back onto your back here, Mike. We're gonna do a little hip internal, external rotation. So I'm gonna bring this leg up and keep that one long for me there, Mike. So here I'm gonna do internal rotation test. So I'm gonna bring this foot out as far as I can, knee in. There's maybe 10 degrees of movement there, not a ton. And then external rotation, I can maybe get about 45 degrees, not a ton there. Do a little hip scour test. So I'm gonna drive this knee straight back. He's got plenty of mobility, and as I start tracing this knee out towards the side, I can dang near get his knee up into his armpit. He's got plenty of range of motion through that hip scour test. And then the last thing that we're gonna do is a little hip extension. So roll onto your belly here, Mike. I'm gonna bring this leg up to 90 degrees. I'm gonna pull from that knee, and then what I don't wanna see is this lower back flexing or compensating. So I'm gonna keep my hand on that lower back, feel when he starts moving. So we've got decent hip extension here, right? That lower back's not moving too much. I can pull that knee pretty far back, actually, probably 20, 30 degrees. So he's got a good amount of hip extension there, but definitely failed the internal, external hip rotation test. Scour test looks really, really good. Probably does not struggle to hit depth on a squat. The next thing that we're gonna pop into is a child's pose against the wall, or that overhead squat, the wall slide, however you wanna call it. So with this, I wanna make sure that he's got his feet perfectly contacted with the wall. Bring his heels up just a tiny bit here, Mike. Good. And so he's sitting into that child's pose or wall slide position, if you will. From here, I wanna take a dowel or a PVC stick, anything, to try and make sure he's in a nice straight line. So I wanna make sure he's maintaining that neutrality, that neutral spine position, from the base of his hips towards the top of his back. And from here, I can see a little bit of thoracic extension where he's kind of pulling off. Not terrible, but he actually has a really good position here. He's obviously sitting pretty comfortable with the hips. If he were standing up, this would be below 90 degrees. Arms overhead look like they're in a good position. Feet are staying flat against the wall. So he definitely passed that test pretty well. And then the last thing that we're gonna do is a little ankle mobility. So I've got a couple plates here. 2 classic 45s about the height of a bumper. Go ahead and take your shoe off for me, Mike. And then I want him to block his toe off onto this plate here, and then push his knee as far forward as he can. Good, so Mike can get, I gave him closer, bend that toe even more as much as you can. Yep, good, and then pull that knee as far forward as you can. He's got maybe an inch or 2 over that toe, and that's being pretty generous, so definitely does not have a ton of ankle mobility here. And then looking at Achilles tendon, I can see it right through that sock line. It is pretty straight, and I can see from this side, he has a decent arch. I can definitely fit a finger or 2 underneath. There's a little bit of internal rotation at that foot, so he does collapse that arch a little bit. Not terrible, but definitely something to keep an eye on. So moving through all those passive assessments, we can accumulate some data and make some decisions about his training going forward.